Frank and Diane did everything right. Sold the big house, paid cash for a smaller one, cut the mortgage completely. The maintenance costs dropped, utility bills dropped. On paper, it was a perfect retirement move. 6 months later, Diane told my wife that she cries sometimes when she thinks about it. So my name's Jason. I retired 9 years ago at 39. And since then, I've watched a lot of people make retirement decisions that look brilliant on a spreadsheet, but they quietly unravel in real life. Now, Frank and Diane are my new neighbors. They moved in about 7 months ago. They downsized from a bigger place in a more walkable neighborhood that was closer to their kids. And the numbers worked out fine, but something else didn't. And I want to walk you through exactly what happened, because their story is a lot more common than most people realize. So here's what they did. Big house, big yard, maintenance every weekend. They were tired of it. And honestly, completely understandable. I mean, at 65, you don't want to be up on a ladder cleaning gutters or writing landscaping checks every month. So they found something newer, smaller, lower price point, simpler layout. Monthly cost went down noticeably. And for the first few weeks, it felt like a win. But here's where it gets interesting. Their old house was in a neighborhood where Diane could walk to a coffee shop, walk to the pharmacy, hop in the car and be at her daughter's house in like 8 minutes. Their new house, our neighborhood, is none of those things. There's no sidewalk that takes you anywhere useful. I mean, the nearest grocery store is like 5 to 10 minute drive. Their daughter is now 30 minutes away instead of 8. And it doesn't sound like a lot until it is. Every single day. See, here's what nobody talks about when they're planning a downsize. You're not just buying a house, you're buying a lifestyle. And that lifestyle might cost you more than a house ever did. Real quick, if you're retired or thinking about it and spend a lot of time thinking about what comes next, go ahead and hit subscribe. You're exactly who I make these videos for. Let me just say this plainly. Walkability is one of the most underrated factors in retirement planning. Not just for convenience, but for independence, for health, for how long you stay sharp and mobile. I mean, think about what walkability actually does for you. When you can walk to a grocery store, a coffee shop, a pharmacy, you're moving your body. You're running into people. You're doing small, ordinary things that keep you connected to daily life. And when you can't, well, you drive every single time for everything. And look, driving feels completely normal right now. But think 10, 15 years into retirement. There's gonna be a point for most of us where driving gets harder. Your vision changes, reaction time slows. A family member starts quietly worrying every time you take the car out. That moment comes for most people. And when it does, the question isn't how big is your house? It's can you still live life without a car? Now Frank, he's 66. He's healthy. He drives fine for now. But Diane mentioned almost in passing that she doesn't love driving at night anymore. And I just thought, well, in 5 years, 10 years, that detail is going to matter a lot more than it does today. And you might be thinking, okay, but the financial savings are real. Lower cost, less maintenance, and that's real money. And you're right. But here's the question that nobody asks until it's too late. What's the cost of losing your independence 5 years sooner than you had to? That's not a small number. Before people retire, they imagine retirement a certain way. Travel, freedom, finally having time, and all that's real. But here's what I've seen over and over again. The day-to-day happiness in retirement is less about adventures and more about access. Access to your kids, your grandkids, the people who make an ordinary Tuesday night feel like something. Frank and Diane have 3 grandkids, 4, 7, and 9 years old. Before the move, their daughter would just drop the kids off spontaneously because it was like 8 minutes. It was nothing. Now it's 30 minutes each way, an hour round trip. You don't do that spontaneously. You have to plan it. You schedule it. And when you're scheduling time with your grandkids, something just shifts. It stops feeling like family and starts feeling like an appointment. Diane said something that stuck with me. She said, I wanted things to be quieter. I just didn't expect it to actually be quiet. And that's it right there. Distance doesn't just change logistics, it changes relationships, slowly, quietly. in ways that you don't notice until holidays are over and you realize that you only saw your grandkids 4 times this year. So here's something that a lot of people never seriously consider. What if your current home is already the right home? Not forever, but for now, for this phase. See, most people treat downsizing like it's a step that they're supposed to take, like it's on the retirement checklist. Big house, smaller house, assisted living. I mean, that's the script, right? But what if your current home is already manageable, already paid off or close to it, already in a location that actually works for your life? I mean, moving has costs. The financial ones, transaction fees, moving expenses, repairs that you didn't budget for the new place, but also the psychological ones. I mean, we're talking rebuilding routines, learning a new neighborhood, starting over from scratch. Frank told me, and this surprised me, that the new house needed more work than they expected. Newer doesn't always mean ready. I mean, they've already put a lot of money into things that they didn't see coming. Sometimes the most retirement-friendly move is just staying put and taking that money that you would have spent on a transaction and putting into making your current home work better for the next 15 years. A first floor bedroom, better lighting, a walk-in shower. Those upgrades might cost like $20,000 and completely transform your livability. And compare that to $30,000 in transaction cost just to move somewhere that creates a whole new set of problems. And look, I get it. Moving feels like progress, but sometimes it's just motion. This is the thing that I keep coming back to with Frank and Diane's story. Their decision made complete sense for today. Less maintenance, better today. Lower cost, absolutely. Simpler space, sure. But the question that they didn't fully ask was, will this home still work for us in 15 years? That's the retirement question. Not, does this work now? But does this work when things get harder? Because here's the truth about retirement. The early years are usually the easiest. You're healthy, you're mobile, you're adapting fine. But here's the thing. The decisions that you make now are actually being made for the version of you that's 75, 80, 85. And that version of you is going to care a lot about walkability, about being near family, about whether you can still live your life without a car, about whether your community actually feels like community, or whether you're just located in some quiet suburb. Frank and Diane, they're fine right now. They're adjusting. But Diane said something recently that kind of said everything. She said, I think we solved the wrong problem. They solved the maintenance problem. They solved the space problem. They solved the cost problem. Those were real. But underneath all of it was a different problem. And they didn't see it until they were already moved in. And this is kind of the whole point. The biggest retirement mistakes don't feel like mistakes when you make them. They often feel like smart decisions. And that's what makes them dangerous. So what's the real takeaway here? I'm not telling you not to downsize. And I'll say clearly, nothing I say is advice for your specific situation. What I am saying is think bigger than square footage. Before any move, ask yourself these things. What does my daily life actually look like in this location? Not vacations, not the highlight reel, but Tuesday. What does a normal Tuesday look like? How far am I from the people that I love most? And is that distance going to feel the same in 5 years? What happens if I can't drive? What does this location look like at 78? And honestly, is my current home actually the problem? Or am I just looking for a change that feels like progress? And those aren't easy questions, but they're the right ones. Frank and Diane, they aren't miserable. I want to be clear about that. They're making it work, and maybe over time, this turns out to be exactly the right thing for them. But if I could go back and sit with them before the move, I'd ask them one thing. Are you designing your retirement, or are you just solving today's problems? Because there's a big difference. If this made you think differently about retirement and where you live, you're going to want to watch this one next. It's about why retirees are quietly leaving the villages in Florida, one of the most popular retirement destinations in the country, and what that tells us about what actually makes retirement work. I'll leave a link below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you there.